And we've made it through our first year of the Trump presidency, and we're measuring that in dog years these days because every 7 days is now 1 year of time. And I'm sure that all of you are like me. It is just like been mind-boggling at just how fast things are going downhill. Now, we've both thought that we're not surprised at what they're doing, the speed they're doing it, but we both just look at it and they're going straight down the playbook. They're eliminating dissent. They're eliminating alternative voices. And today, mine was one of those. I got notified by Facebook that as of, well, it turns out yesterday, because my account wasn't working, that my account, which I've had for 15 years, has been permanently suspended and removed. So it's like if you follow me on Facebook, I'm no longer there. It's like it's literally a 404 right now.
I'm open though, guys. Come on over. I'll be here for at least for the time being.
So, the reasons given were unspecified, saying that, I didn't follow community standards and said I did something which I didn't do, but it wasn't a bot that eliminated me. It was a human who came in and made that decision. So I can only imagine that the fact that I had 1 million impressions over the last 28 days and some 10,000 followers, and the fact that I posted anti-Trump messaging had something to do with this. So now I'm going to have to get my voice out in another way. Harry, it's like you're prognosticating on what happens in war zones is like getting me down. So give me some good news.
Well, if you've invested in eggs, you're good because prices are up and they're just going to keep climbing. The bad news is they might be infected by H5N bird flu. But anyway, hey, the eggs that you can get, the prices are through the roof. So invest in eggs. It might be a little late, though. Let's see. What else is good?
Yeah.
No, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's
it. Yep. Here's the thing, guys. It's easy to get distracted by the latest outrage. There are so many things that you don't even consider, like the firing of all of the watchdogs and all the federal agencies, the inspectors general, that you don't even think is a thing. That's a huge effect. The firing of the Coast Guard, the commandant of the Coast Guard, because unspecified reasons, just loss of confidence in her ability to command.
Being the operative word.
These are the daily events. The complete shutdown of all government communications. These are all Pete Hegseth, General in Command Shitfingers, is now our Secretary of Defense. These are all things that you can get angry about, but that's it. You can only get angry. We have no ability to affect any of this anymore. The Democratic Party does not control anything. We control just under half of the votes in the House of Representatives, and that's it. And guys, that's not enough. That's the only thing we can keep from happening is something that is deeply unpopular in the Republican ranks. And that's going to be few and far between because all of them people are afraid of Trump, and they're going to be afraid of Trump. So this is where I am. You do what you need to do, guys. We all got to stay sane. But at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and keep pointing out things that are wrong. Keep pointing out things where they fail. Keep pointing out that the price of eggs are going to increase. Keep pointing out that the stock market took a huge shock today and is probably at the top of its peak, and we're going to look at a downturn here. I've said that a couple of weeks in a row now. And then we just sit there and watch because nothing's going to happen until we change government. And in fact, we may not be able to change government. We're going to watch that happen too. So sucks being us right now. Yeah. That's all I can say. And I'm laughing because as a soldier, that's what I learned to do. When things suck really hard, you embrace the suck and you just laugh about it, and then look for the earliest exit, and that's where I am.
Oh man, from my standpoint, my own personal business was affected yesterday when Trump increased or imposed a 25% tariff on all things from Colombia. Now,
coffee. Oh yeah, invest in coffee. Invest in coffee. There we go. There's a good thing.
No, it's too late now. So
yeah, I know.
I mean, literally, I was going with my partners in my coffee business. It's a coffee roasting business. Our costs went up overnight 25%. With the threat, they're going to go up another 25% for a 50% tariff in another 6 days or so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here.
Yep. No, you know, tea tastes great.
There'll probably be, you know, some tariffs on that too. So it's like, I think, if I remember right, I think that's how this country got started. You know, somebody upset about paying taxes on tea. So,
yeah. Unfortunately, that was when our country was populated with people who actually gave a shit, engaged in politics, and didn't just let it slough off by the wayside, like so many of our voters did just a couple of months ago.
Well, you know, speaking of which, yeah, I keep seeing these reports that, oh, you know, all these people that are Trump voters are starting to have regrets. I don't see that. Yeah.
Well, it was that police union that came out and got mad because he pardoned 6,000 January 6th protesters.
Yeah, and plus the 400 that actually assaulted cops. But I mean, it's like, hey, you know, party foul.
There's not enough yet. The people are still waiting and seeing. Actually, they're not waiting and seeing. They're already whole hog into it. It's not going to be until they go to Starbucks tomorrow or buy their next dozen eggs.
Well, I was listening to NPR today, that left-wing commie, you know, place that, you know, is virulently against Trump. And they were interviewing some people from Bell County, Kentucky, which is my neck of the woods up in Appalachia. And 86% of the votes in Bell County were for Trump. And they don't believe that he's going to do what he says he is going to do.
No, they don't.
And they were interviewing a teacher, and she said, well, you know, he's going to make America great again. But I didn't vote for him to take away the Department of Education and cut away all the funding.
Well, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you did.
You know, I mean, that's just it. I mean, it's like you could shout at the radio, but what good's it going to do?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, you know, that, you know, stupid is, stupid does, fuck around, find out. And we're not to the point where they're finding out. It's like there's like this, they're trying as hard as they can not to have the realization that they just fucked themselves, you know, because it's not just the Department of Education. It's going to be Medicare and Medicaid and all these other social programs that, you know, Bell County depends on for majority of their residents. And guess what? They're all being cut or taken away.
Yeah. You know, it's going to be at least 6 months before any kind of reality set starts to set in.
I hope it's like, you know, because some of these guys are so dyed in the wool. I can see them, you know, going out. It's like, well, you know, it's just the price we had to pay, you know, to get rid of all the Mexicans and, you know, Nicaraguans and people like that.
Which is exactly what's happening right now. You know, the ones that are big, there have not yet been any that I'm aware of stories about families being ripped apart yet. There have not been any stories about kids being thrown into cages or, you know, ripped out of the arms of their mothers and fathers. Not yet. But it's only going to be a matter of time, because right now they're picking the low-hanging fruit. They're going after the felons. Okay. And most Americans, myself included, thinks that the felons should go. Got it.
But that's already been the law. I mean, that is not new. We've had that law for 50 years. The
Biden administration deported over 1 million people last year. All right. So it's not like we haven't been deporting us, but these are very public. These are very, but you know, when something happens that is so outrageous on camera, that's when it's going to start turning negative on them. It won't stop them. but it's going to start turning negative on. Today, by the way, I don't know if you hit this headline. It literally just came out before I got on the news. Trump is now proposing an Iron Dome anti-missile system for the entire United States. Okay, that sounds great until you realize what that is. And,
Yeah.
and that's going to be billions of dollars to accomplish nothing. Nobody's launching those types of missiles at us. Iron Dome does very little to prevent ICBMs. And we've got an anti-ballistic missile system already in place. Do we need more? Certainly. But an Iron Dome missile system? No, that's a feel-good move that is nothing more than political masturbation.
But that also gives chance for Senator Tommy Turdville to go try to get some more money, for the defense industry so that we can buy stuff that we're not going to use.
Yeah, because it would be coming out of Alabama. Most of that stuff's going to be, at least the R&D is going to be generated in at Redstone Arsenal in Alabama. So there we go. Yeah, like I said, there's very little we can do right now to stop any of this happening. It's consequence management. At the same time, I just want to point out, and again, most Americans really don't give a shit, but our allies, why would they trust us now? We threatened Denmark. There was a contentious phone call with the Prime Minister of Denmark over the weekend.
Very polite, contentious.
They're
telling each other, fuck off.
Yeah, the whole. Why would anybody trust us? And when they stop trusting us, that's when they say, well, let's start looking for partners who we can count on. And there's only one other partner out there who can do what we do and keep people safe. And honest to God, that's China. And that comes with a shit ton price tag that maybe people are willing to pay, because what people want in the world is predictability. And the U.S. has proven itself to be unpredictable. Well,
no, we've proven that Trump is unpredictable, and he's, I think we're doing damage that even.
I'm going to disagree with you there, because it wasn't Trump that put himself into office. It was the American voters.
Okay, yeah.
It was the population that has proven, yeah. And so Trump is the asshole, but Trump has always been nothing more than the symptom and not the cause. And the cause is the sickness of America. And the American voters that are too spoiled, frankly, too lazy, and not well educated enough to really give a shit about getting engaged and making wrong decisions when they do get engaged.
Well, I mean, now it's like, been parsing out and, trying to think, is the damage going to be so great that even if the Democrats manage to, take over the House again in 28 and 26 and the presidency in 28, is it going to be too far gone to undo a lot of this stuff?
I think so. Yeah, I do. Because he was gone in 2020 and he came back. What'll happen even if we vote Democrats into the Senate and the House, which probably won't happen, both houses, I don't think, in 26. And even if we retake all branches of government in 28, who's to say that they won't be back in 32?
By that time, let's see, that puts us down 8. I'm going to be in my mid 70s. I'm ready to check out. So once you get old, after that, it's the younger generation's fight. So it's like,
I'm a little bit behind you, but honest, I've said this before, and it's true. Sometime this year, my wife and I will be taking an extended car trip through Eastern Canada to look for places to go, where at least I don't have to be tagged with the label and live with the immediate effects. I'll get the downstream effects, but not the immediate effects. Hello, Louis. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing well. Thanks for being patient with me for being a little late. We have in the middle of Arizona's, dry desert and drought, there's a sprinkler that the HOA needs to take care of. That's just been spewing water. So I had to deal with that real quick. Thank you.
Are you an HOA officer?
No, I'm not. If I was, that wouldn't be there. Put it that way. It's just literally spewing out water, man.
Okay.
For 2 days.
Well, to recap, we've been talking about just the flood of events, and a lot of them that aren't getting a lot of attention, that are actually more worrisome than the performance art with some of the other moves. It's like, taking out the inspector generals, which was just, a massive move, getting rid of the Department of Education, which is going to be just fatal to a lot of rural school districts. I mean, it's just like, it's not unexpected, but even though you expect it, it's still mind-numbing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I liked how you call them events. Yeah, there's just so much going on, and it's almost like it's designed to confuse you so you don't know what's going on. I mean, there's just so many different things that have been.
I certainly think there's some of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, like a chaos approach type of a thing, right? You just do so many things that everything looks blurry, right? So you just kind of live with it. Yeah, I know.
There was an article yesterday. I posted it. I can't remember what news source it came from. Anyway, it's on my page if anybody's curious. But it talks about Trump's black box and how this administration is way more disciplined, way more quiet, way better about keeping people from getting to him than they did in the previous administration. And that makes us a lot more deadly. He's no longer chasing rabbits down holes because they're keeping the rabbits out. Right. And so I said something similar last show, but in different words. Essentially, I said they know they're on a timeline here. I mean, they got, you can count the number, you can break down the timeline in months, not just years. And so they understand that, and they're honed in on getting things done. Not just legislatively, because that to them is going to take too long. Yeah. And what we had said before you came on, we're just in consequence management. We're powerless to stop anything that's going to happen. That is happening. Right. The Democratic Party is powerless. All we can do is shake our hands and shake our fingers and point out when things go horribly wrong, and hope that things will have an opportunity here in a year and a half, but we'll see.
A year and a half.
What was that?
I said you have to survive the year and a half.
Yeah, and you have to. You're right, and you have to hope that, that the essentially Congress is flipped, if you will, and that you take that ability away. Because the executive orders will always be there. I think those are going to just come I think we're going to see them all the time. They're going to be executive orders that are going to result of executive orders. I think you'll have one put in place and another one that tangents off of that because of something that happened. And so it's like the domino effect, I think.
Yeah.
So you're right. The Congress is in 2 years kind of like one of the strategies that the Democrats have to look at, I think, politically speaking.
I still get feedback from my readers that they keep waiting for some sort of impeachment, and it's like that's not going to happen, guys. I mean, it didn't happen when we controlled Congress. It's surely not going to happen when we don't control Congress. There's just hugely wishful thinking.
Yeah.
There might be a 25th Amendment, depending. I mean, he would have to get a lot worse. But I mean, again, if you're in the medical world, that he's showing signs of something. He's slowing down.
Regardless of what he does, unless he just has an absolute meltdown like the Wicked Witch of the West on camera, I can't see somebody like Pete Hegseth, who would be essential in a 25th Amendment process, to vote against him. I can't see Pam Bondi, who would be essential in a 25th Amendment. They're not going to vote against him.
No, and I think that was part of
in his mythos.
Yeah, that was part of the calculation, I think, in choosing some of the people. I think.
Yeah. They would rather gut it out for 3, 2, 1 years, however long it takes until the election, and then stand for re-election themselves, rather than piss off his followers. I mean,
that's the truth.
I can't remember his name, but who was his Secretary of Defense? That guy, the guy in Kansas, and then he became the director of the CIA after that. God, he was going to be such a great guy, and he just had a security detail yanked because he pissed off Trump.
What the former? Well, go ahead.
Yeah, the last one. I can't remember his name because he's now become a nobody. He's been disappeared. He's
Right.
like been erased from Stalin's photograph. And he did. Trump yanked his security detail along with Fauci's, so that Trump's followers could get at him.
John Bolton, is that who you're thinking of?
No. Bolton was long gone. Bolton's
Okay.
no. Bigger than Bolton. I can't. I'm gonna have to look now. But he was Trump's Secretary of Defense for a minute, and then he became the Director of Central Intelligence.
Trump's secretary. I thought you were referring to this previous. Okay, you mean?
Oh no, this is a Trump guy.
Oh no, I don't know. Let's see if we can find this. Is he former? I don't want to type it in my that people.
I know. All right, y'all carry on. I'll find out and blurt it out here in a minute.
Another topic, and Louis, hopefully you've heard some more about this. But before my Facebook account was erased from the planet Earth, I was getting reports in from people that Native Americans are being arrested by ICE and detained.
Really?
Yeah, very much so. And these are established, reports. In fact, the Navajo Nation has set up a hotline saying that you should be carrying your passport, as well as I guess there's a card that's you can get if you're an enrolled member of a tribe, that you should be carrying that so that you can prove that you're not some illegal alien. And so that's happening today as we speak.
Yeah, the passport card, which is only good for crossing the U.S. Mexican and U.S. Canadian border, is what they're recommending, and it costs I think like $35 or something, but it goes through the same process as getting a passport. You just can't use it when you fly or take a ship. By the way, the guy I was talking about, Mike Pompeo, remember that guy?
Oh yeah. God,
yeah. Trump yanked his security detail.
Really? Pompeo?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Well, you just know they're hoping one of those guys takes it in the head.
Yeah, well, I mean,
absolutely, they want to send them out. They want if you
see
want,
that's why you're not on Facebook anymore, Doc New.
Pointing out what they're thinking, what they want. Yep.
Yeah, definitely interesting.
And a message.
There is when you look at all this, right? Like in that frame, politically speaking, you're right. It's a very, very, and I'm preaching to the choir when I say this, but when you're in politics and you're on the elected side, just from experience, you really get a taste of there being no limit to what the other side, quote unquote, can do.
Yeah.
And it's people say it gets personal, but until you experience that, it's really hard to explain it in words. But it is that rough and tumble. It is that kind of situation where I think they really are looking at this as all or nothing to the extreme. Yeah, they would rather take the house down than lose.
I see that, and it kills me that there are still so many professional politicians, and I don't mean that in a pejorative sense, but people who make politics their living and policy their living, and do it honorably and well. And it bothers me greatly that there are so many of them that have bought into this and think that somehow they'll be able to escape, like Mike Pompeo did.
I have this discussion sometimes with people that we work with, and that an example, an analogy, that they have this great piece of legislation they want to put before, Congress or get passed because it has to do with animals or something that is very difficult to say no to. But if something can be made political, it will. And sometimes I tell them it's not so much the piece of legislation. You're right. It's a great piece of legislation. It helps children or animals or whatever. But what you're not seeing are behind the scenes horse trading that goes on. If you want me to support this, you must do that for me. And if you don't, I will hold it against you. That stuff actually happens. And,
yeah.
That's the stuff I think that they really understand.
And that's what's happening. I think, I mean, not that it has never not happened, but
Correct.
I think that is happening more brutally and more frequently than probably not ever before, but certainly in the past several decades.
Absolutely. And it's just,
Yeah.
and it's not hidden. It's just,
No, it's
like
out there.
being at a, like a, you know, like a hardcore poker match, and a guy just shows up and he's smoking a cigar and he just, you know, like, just, you're not hyped. There's no poker face. You're just out there. This is who I am.
Yeah. You know, back when I was born, literally, LBJ was known to be that guy. I mean, he was the majority leader in the Senate, and he could get anything done, because if he couldn't get it done by arm twisting, he would get it done by just physically threatening people, because he was about 6'3" or 6'4" and a large man, and did not have a problem getting in your face and putting his finger in your chest. And we're seeing that plus, I think, right now. I mean, I don't remember, maybe I missed it, but I don't remember any other national level politician threatening to sick his goons on you physically if you didn't fall in line. I mean, the only one I can think of in it's not even modern memory, because he was assassinated 90 years ago, would be Huey Long in Louisiana. That's it. That's all I can think of.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, it sounds like a long time in a lifetime sense, but in a political sense, I mean, I was talking, you know, not too long ago with the guy about this, and I told him, I said, if you think about it politically, timelines, you know, these things, the history repeats itself in that sense. So, you know, am I surprised somebody like that can get elected? Not really. I'm actually not. If you look at it in the historical sense, yeah, but you know, this country, yeah, but we're still, you know, we're still human beings. These just because we you know, it's 2025 doesn't mean that all of these you know, this ugliness, if you will, doesn't exist. It's just framed differently now. That's all.
I'll confess, I have been incredibly disillusioned. I seriously believed in at least that part of the American exceptionalism, that we could not do that we wouldn't allow ourselves to go that way. And part of my disaffection with America now, all of my disaffection with America, is based on the fact that we let ourselves down. We did not hold up to our own promise.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, now it's like you have to take those people in Bell County, Kentucky, and make them suffer. They need to be gutted, and it's coming. It's like, you know, you know, you want to get breakfast. You know, what used to be you went to Denny's and would get your Grand Slam for $6 is going to be about $26 here real soon. It's you know, I mean, it's just like the stupidity of putting these tariffs in. It's like, you know, I'm out documenting prices every week. It's like my thing now. You know, I take it out, go to the store. You know, I've got this literally a basket of products. You know, just watching the prices, and you know, I've done it 4 weeks in a row, and every week's more than the last. And when you look at our produce, especially this time of year, guess what? It all comes from south of the border, Mexico, Central America, Peru, Colombia. I mean, it's like for Valentine's Day, all of our roses come from Colombia. So you just got, you know, they're expensive enough for Valentine's Day, but they just went up even more for Valentine's Day.
That's true, right?
Yeah. So, but it's worth it, guys. So,
you know, and here's the thing, you know, before, in any sane paradigm that we had, you could say, well, when they feel the political pressure, they'll back off of this nonsense. Trump does not feel the political pressure. He does not need anybody else's vote ever again. Either well, three things are going to happen. Either one, he's going to die before it's over with and he doesn't care. Two, he's going to term out. That would be normal, and he can't be reelected. Or three, it won't be relevant because there won't be another election, or at least not a free and fair one, and he'll get elected anyway. And if anybody thinks that that can't happen because we can't change the Constitution, guess who can? SCOTUS.
Mhm.
and an opinion saying, well, they didn't really mean that amendment to be for non-consecutive terms. So Trump can do 2 terms since they weren't non-consecutive. I can see that happening and coming out of SCOTUS here in the next 3 years. I can.
Oh, that would be just. I mean, basically, we're done. If that happens, that is just a complete capitulation of having any type of civil society.
Yeah. We're losing civil servants. Senior civil servants are being fired, or right now, and I can tell you because more than half my family's in the U.S. civil service, or they're just being so disgusted with what's happening and their lack of ability to function or get promoted that they're leaving. That's happening right now.
It's also what they want to have happen.
Which is exactly what they want to have happen, because it leaves them of the responsibility for firing them. So so people are going to leave. They are leaving now. They're going to leave. They will leave in bigger droves, and we're going to gut that function. We're going to gut the trust of our allies around the world. Well, and we're going to do what the hell we want to do, which is going to be self-destructive.
Arizona's sort of been following that model for the last 20 years. I mean, it's like if you look at for how our population's grown, we should be double the amount of civil servants we have, and it's actually gone down. And that's been a very deliberate attack by the far right wing that has basically controlled Arizona politics since I've been here. And
having been a state civil servant in Arizona, you can't make a competitive living working for the state of Arizona.
No, I mean, yes, that is absolutely.
You can leave and the very next day be making 15 to 20% more for doing essentially the same type of work.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, you're right about that. I've heard that from a lot of people that I know that work in state government here in Arizona. And it's a good point.
Well, I mean, even for the things that supposedly, we all want, which is, cops on the street, keeping the peace. Since I've been following it, the Phoenix Police Department has been at least 600 and usually more than 1,000 under what they should have been. And that's 20 years ago. So we've had 20 years of population growth since then. And so realistically, it's probably doubled. And I'm seeing it, and just driving around. It's like I do a lot of on the road going to various hospitals and clinics. If it's not bumper to bumper traffic one way, the other way is 80 to 85. And if you're not doing that fast, you're getting run off the road. It's like literally I drive past cops sitting on the road with a radar gun at 80 miles an hour, and they do not blink an eye. And I kid you not.
Yeah, so 10 years ago when I worked for Pima County, I had a lot of friends that worked for Pima County, and we were all on LinkedIn together. And because of what I do in my actual real day job, I live pretty much on LinkedIn. And so occasionally I check out on these people. They're all working somewhere else. They're all working in another state. It's amazing. It's hard to find anybody that I knew that worked in Pima County unless they are like the deputy administrator, at the top 2 or 3 positions in the entire county, because they've all left because it sucks there.
Right.
Not the work, not the people, but the pay.
Yeah, I mean, and that's very much on purpose. They want.
And that's, by the way, those are state pay grades. They're not county pay grades. Yeah. You're a state employee if you work for a county in Arizona.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yes, counties are subdivisions of the state government. Cities are different, but county government is basically just an extension of the state government.
I
did not know that. Interesting.
Yep.
Well, so where do we go from here? I mean, it's like, I've been counseling.
I'm going to bed.
That too. So, I've been counseling people. It's like, there's no use screaming at the abyss or into the abyss. I mean, it's like you said, there's nothing we can do, and there's nothing we're going to be able to do until the people that voted for him, say no, and that's not going to happen for a while.
Well, let me tell you what you don't do, and I think Louis will be able to identify with this. So I'm active in my local political party. I'm active in the local county Democratic committee here. And this weekend, I got invited to what can really only be correctly termed as a lynching, where the vice chair for operations for my local political committee decided, well, she didn't decide anything. She was abrasive. She's tough to work with. I wouldn't want to work with her. But she was duly elected by the rest of the county. And the heads didn't like her. The heads that have been there forever, the old crew that never leaves, they just rotate positions, and they decided to get rid of her, and they did it in a way that did not involve having the county vote on it. They took it to the next higher level and had the next higher level fire her.
So it's sort of extrajudicial.
Yeah. So I'm a committee member. I was in the room. I was not even allowed to speak or ask a question. It was only the next higher level that was basically the jury for this, for lack of a better word, impeachment. And this is what I'm seeing Democrats do in various pockets around the country. They're forming the circular firing squads, and they're shooting people that they think aren't towing the line or whatever, political purity, whatever it is, instead of looking at what the real problem is. It's just they're out of touch. They're not telling the people what they want to hear. They're not doing things for the people that they want done.
Mm-hmm.
And so until that stops happening, it's going to be a tough couple of years.
Oh, yeah. You mean in the Democratic circles in general?
Yeah.
Is what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, from the standpoint, I think that we need to have a wholesale turnover of leadership at all levels of the Democratic Party. I agree with that. I mean, I think, that they've just become so fossilized in how they think, how they act, how they protect each other, that, you have to get in line to run for something. And
in this particular case, it was the fossils that fired the person that had been voted into that position by the people. So they're not listening to their constituents, just the same way that so many Democrat representatives and politicians got fired this last year because they weren't listening to their constituents.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Right.
That's an even bigger problem. That means that
the good thing that came out of this was that the county chair and the secretary of the county party both resigned within 24 hours because they realized they had overstepped it, and they created a mess that they couldn't fix.
Mm.
So more to follow on that. But again, this is just emblematic to me of things that I'm seeing and reading about elsewhere in the country. It just happened to hit home to me this weekend.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. One of the things too is, like, if you look at, two ways to think of what I'm going to say. Where does the Democratic Party go in terms of, like, its identity? I think that's kind of the main question, because that'll determine whether or not, I mean, you look at, if you consider yourself a Democrat now, would that even be the same thing in a year? Right. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know where the party. I think it's in serious.
Well, I mean, Louis, this is the thing is that all these people were horrifically upset about inflation, the price of eggs, the price of gas. Where'd all that go? I mean, you don't hear anything coming out of Washington that they're concerned about it. In fact, they're making moves that make it worse.
Hang on. Trump just said this weekend that inflation was not going to be his number one priority. He actually said that. That's a public statement. So where'd it go? It's disappeared.
Yeah, it's disappeared.
It's easier to chase undocumented immigrants.
So I mean, so then what becomes the issue that we can use that on our side? I mean, it's like we're hamstrung because we have to be nice and we're concerned about people. It's like they had an issue that they didn't. Not only didn't have to be concerned, but they can demonize them. And it played. It's
I always like
eating the dogs and cats. I mean, it's just one lie after one lie after another. And I got yelled at when I still had a Facebook account that I have to be absolutely 100% correct with everything that I post. And it's like, why? We did that and we got our asses handed to us.
Did you get a reason when they
something about not following community standards, and that was it. And it wasn't a bot. It was a real person that took the time to do it. Judge, jury, executioner. I cannot appeal it. It's done. And I've got 15 years of stuff there.
Yeah, I believe it. No, it's been around. You've been doing this for a while. I mean, it on one hand, it's kind of funny, but there's a serious side to all of this. I mean,
I look at this. That's the type of stuff Putin does in the Soviet Union.
I'm saying because it's you. It's just
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah. It's like, but I'm going to be interested to see who else is going to get the axe like that. So because I was vocal, up front, and frankly, had a pretty good size reach. And I think that was a threat. I mean, it's not the same type of threat, where you've got millions of followers.
No, but to your point, though, I mean, and you made a comment / question in the beginning of this was like, well, what's the issue that we focus on? I don't know if there is an issue. I think we just, as the Democratic Party has to understand that sometimes you don't focus on an issue. You just go out there and you go to war. You either win or you lose in politics.
I think that's what we have to come to terms with, is that it's time to go to war. And I don't, I hope I don't mean in the shooting sense, but this is getting really ugly. And
you got to win elections, and the rules that apply in an election are not the same that apply when you govern. We have to understand that.
Yeah.
This quick little story. I remember, when I was mayor and I was running for re-election, and I wanted to get the majority on the council because I was in the minority at the time. Well, it was changing, and I can clearly tell that my majority was not really strong. Anyway, so there was this issue that came up as to whether or not we would increase our sewer fees. And of course, I was up for re-election that year, and that was something you shouldn't vote for, in every election year. But you know what I did? I understood politics. And here's what I did. I said, you know what? I'm going to take a chance here, and I'm going to vote yes on this thing. And I know my colleagues who are up for re-election are also going to vote yes. I'm just going to out-campaign them, though. So I voted yes. Of course, this and that happened. They got a lot of heat for it, whatever. But you better believe I hired a consultant right after that and sent out mailers saying that I can't believe these two people voted to raise your taxes. I can't believe they would vote for this thing. Kick them out. I did too. I voted for it too. I just had a better consultant to get the message out there than my colleagues were the ones that voted for it. They tried to say, well, he voted for it too, but they didn't have a loud enough voice to do it. I just had more money in my campaign chest. My point is I understood that if I didn't do that, they were going to win again, and my agenda would be down the tubes. I just understood politics better.
Yeah.
And I think we have to understand that there's an ugly, I don't want to call it an ugly, there's a reality side, there's a realistic side to winning an election that goes into the face of what people think is right and wrong sometimes. We got to get over that.
Yeah. Yeah. And saying that, it's obvious that despite the fact that Trump is failing in so many areas, he understands politics.
Right. He understands that he's content creating for his reality show, because that's all he's doing. This is just a 24/7 reality show, which is why you go sign all these pardons in a basketball arena. Not at the Capitol or something like that. You want to have plenty of people so that they could sit there and applaud and make them feel good.
And you turn on the news, right, and you see these pictures of these big C-17 planes loading up criminals, and all, and the visual people get off on that stuff. Yeah. And we're over here, on the other side. What are we don't have that ability to.
Well, not only, even if we had the ability, we don't have an outlet for it, because right now, you've got Facebook, Instagram, X, Washington Post, the LA Times are all controlled by people that have literally gotten down on their knees to sunk Trump's micro dick. I mean, it is, they have completely capitulated. And it's like the LA Times said, if you have a story about Trump, I have to personally approve it.
And yeah, you're right. I mean, if you were to ask somebody who's the leader of the Democratic Party right now, what's the answer? I don't even know.
Oh, that's already been asked in a number of venues, and you're right. There is no answer. Nobody can. The best someone can say is Hakeem Jeffries, but I mean, I like the guy. He's a smart guy. He could be, but he's focused on him. He's focused on the Congress. He's focused on the House. That's right.
It. And it was my way of kind of like the flip side of what was just said right now by you. Is that like everybody is bowing down to him because there's a clear leader. There's not even an alternative choice right now. It's almost like that's all, so they're lining up, man. Just, I mean, there's not even another choice on the other side.
I mean, just, saying, at that point is, I mean, you have Mika Brzezinski apologizing to Fox News because they said something mean about Trump, a few months ago. I mean, apologizing on air to Fox News. That just shows you how far we've fallen when you have no ability to offer any criticism of a guy that wants to be a dictator. And, so far he's doing a pretty damn good job of getting there.
Well, even bigger, and this is happening. CNN is cutting staff. NBC is cutting staff. I'm talking about the news portions of NBC. The talking heads are leaving because their salaries are being cut and they don't want to do it anymore. And the news divisions are being shrunk because news is shifting to the internet. It's not going to be on broadcast anymore, not nearly to the extent that it has been. And guess what? That gets around the fairness clauses. It gets around all of that. And now people are going to be even more stovepiped into their information systems. They give them what they want to hear. So it's going to get worse. The information nonsense is going to get worse. Infotainment is the king.
Well, that's where you have to develop our own stuff. I mean, it's like, if you go back and look at history, Lyndon Johnson was the first one to figure out, when he first ran, that radio was the way to go. You don't campaign in person. And and then we come up, and then Kennedy was the first one to figure out, oh man, it's TV, not radio, not radio. And so every step along the way, somebody has figured out that next step, Clinton, the internet. And this time they got out thought because, we had another shift in the way it worked. And so we don't use legacy media anymore, which means TV, radio, newspapers, flyers, just worthless things. And it now becomes, you got to go on Joe Rogan's podcast or, somebody else's that's an influencer. And that's the way you have to figure out how to reach those people. And, the only person I saw on the Democratic side trying to do that was Pete Buttigieg, that would literally go into the lion's den on Fox News and, fight the good fight. So, from that standpoint, I think that, if Pete wants it, he could be, the guy that steps up and actually becomes the voice of the Democratic Party, but it's like he has to want it.
I think Louis said it last week, or maybe you did, Ed. I can't remember, that he seems to be more focused on becoming the governor of Michigan, and more power to him.
Yeah, he's going to become the governor of Michigan. So he doesn't need that national venue, but he's doing that so that he can use that as a platform to run for president later. Since that's
sure. Assuming we'll have elections later.
Assuming.
Well, listen, guys, it's 7:49, and I don't know. I mean, that's 7:49 in my time, which means that I've been now awake for 12 hours, more than 12 hours. So y'all can carry on, but I'm looking for an exit ramp.
No, I tell you what, it's like we've made it through year one of the Trump presidency, so let's meet next week for year two. So
God damn it, it's going to be a long year.
Wild, man.
Hey, everybody that was here, thank you. We really appreciate you following along with us.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you out.
Yeah, I'm done. So
I was gonna say adios, guys. I'll see y'all next week. I plan on being here.
You got it.
Good deal, guys.